Do you remember your 18th birthday? Do you remember your favorite gift from your 18th birthday? I do. Mine was in May, my birthday was, but my favorite gift came in June. It was a small card, very government looking, and it was my voter registration card. And I was incredibly excited, more so excited than the shoes my parents bought me, for my voter registration card. And why is this? I love politics. I love researching politics, arguing politics, everything about it. And with this year being a presidential election, I was fascinated, especially with the finance of elections, the finance of a campaign. Now, you might hear on the news, there's a lot of money involved with campaigns. And I kept hearing that and hearing that and hearing that. And I wanted to know, where does the money come from? Who gives the money? Where does the money go? And so that led me to create this talk. So today we're going to examine kind of the framework that helped shape campaign finance as we know it today, and then some raw metrics concerning the numbers of campaign finance. So really the originator of the framework of campaign finance was this Supreme Court case, Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. Now, Citizens United was a registered 501c4, that's a typo, not a 501c3, a 501c4 organization. Now, 501c4 is a tax designation by the IRS, and these organizations are set up to promote social welfare. Now, these organizations also have the ability to lobby for legislation and get involved with campaigns, be it electioneering with advertising or rallies like that. In the 2008 Democratic primary, Citizens United put out a very controversial documentary entitled Hillary the Movie. Now, this was a negative documentary about Democratic primary candidate Hillary Clinton. And the Federal Election Commission stopped the airing of this documentary, citing provisions from the McCain-Feingold Campaign Finance Act of 2002. Now, the Citizens United pushed back against this stay of the documentary and then brought the case to the Supreme Court. And in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Citizens United and ruled parts of the McCain-Feingold Act unconstitutional. But the main provision that they ruled unconstitutional were the campaign spending limits put on 501c4 organizations. Now, this was really opened the floodgates for the reform, for the change in the campaign finance industry. But another case was key in broadening the expanse of this industry. This was SpeechNow.org versus the Federal Election Commission, and the first point of this case was that organizations must register as political action committees if they wish to get involved with campaign financing. The second provision was that political action committees, or PACs, can accept unlimited individual contributions. Now, what does this mean? With these two rulings together, as of March 2010, any individual, corporation, or union can contribute unlimited amounts of money to political action committees. Now, political action committees who receive donations, this money is known as soft money because these committees are not directly related or affiliated with a political party. They're affiliated with a set of ideals, but not a party. Now, hard money, on the other hand, is money given directly to a party. So, after reading these Supreme Court decisions, I asked the question, do special interest groups now control elections? Does your vote, if you're not giving millions of dollars, really matter? Can you influence an election? And so let's take a look at a few of the sectors that are really bankrolling presidential elections. So of the top 25 sectors, only of the top 25 donors come from 9 sectors. And in fact, 60% of all donors in the top 25 come from only 3 sectors: finance, unions, and hospitality. That means 3 sectors control part of $164 million worth of donations. It's an interesting fact. Now, some of the sector highlights that you may not know about is that of the $35 million from the finance sector, 4.2 of that came from Bain Capital. Now, Bain Capital is a private equity firm founded by none other than Republican nominee Mitt Romney. So that's an interesting little affiliation that most people don't know about. But on the other side, of the $37.8 million that came from unions, 30% came from teachers' unions. And teachers' unions, like the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers, were unions specifically discussed by President Obama and his plans for education reform. So, as you can see, special interest groups have a very vested interest in a candidate that's going to support their own interests. Now, of the soft money that I talked about, or donations directly to PACs who are affiliated with ideals and not parties, of the $126 million donated, 74% of that went to conservative-affiliated PACs, with only 24% going to liberal-affiliated PACs. While there's a little bit of discrepancy in the percentages, that's because campaign financing and donations received by PACs are not public information. Now, I received this information from a website called opensecrets.org, whose mission is to bring transparency to campaign finance. But as you can see, conservative groups outraised liberal groups by over 300% of $126 million. That's a lot of money going around these campaigns. Now, what about direct contributions to political parties, what you would think would be the higher number, right? Well, actually, hard money donated to the party, only $38 million was donated directly to a party, 57% going to the Democratic Party and 43% going to the Republican Party. So this election cycle, Democrats were actually more supportive of their party than Republicans were, directly supportive. But what's most surprising, perhaps, is the relationship between soft money and hard money. Of the total support, or total number of dollars given in this election cycle, 76% of it went to political action committees, while only 23% went to direct party support. That's a big discrepancy. $126 million went to groups who are not overseen by a political party and only affiliated with the ideals of a political party. In this election cycle, as I said, PAC support was 325% greater than party support. And I think that raises an interesting question. If our candidates for president affiliate themselves with one party, and many voters affiliate themselves with one party, why do we give our campaign dollars, our campaign support, to organizations that aren't overseen by a party and aren't directly affiliated with a candidate, only affiliated with a set of ideals? How do we know that the dollars that we give and the support that we pledge is going to go to influence what's best for America and not what's best for a specific sector or a specific individual? Now, when I say individuals, let's look at the top 25 individual donors for these PACs and campaigns. $104 million came from individual donors, and $104 million, went to conservative individuals, and liberal individuals gave $26 million. Now, what are some of the big names of these groups? Well, on the liberal side, James Simons is a hedge fund manager. Now, usually hedge fund managers break for a conservative candidate due to their tax policy. James Simons is an outlier. Steve Mostyn of the Mostyn Law Firm, and a very famous name is Mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, very supportive of liberal PACs. On the Republican side, Sheldon Adelson garnered a lot of attention when he publicly began writing checks for Newt Gingrich during the Republican primaries. But what is not known is that when Newt Gingrich dropped from the race, during Newt Gingrich's campaign, Sheldon Adelson spent $4 million against the eventual nominee, Mitt Romney. But as soon as Mitt Romney garnered the nomination, Sheldon Adelson flipped over a new check and wrote $10 million in support of Mitt Romney. So it's really amazing how fast money can change hands and change opinions during an election cycle. Other names are Bob Perry, a Houston-based home builder, and Peter Thiel, most famous for his angel investment of a tiny social networking company called Facebook. So with these individuals and group donations, $164 million was raised this election cycle. What can you buy with $164 million? What are some points of comparison? Do we have to spend all that money on elections? No, I'm not going to say we should never support any political candidate with money. I disagree with that. I think candidates ought to have the opportunity to put out their message and their beliefs. What can we do with $164 million? That's actually 15% of the Red Cross budget. So what if we gave half of the money we spent on political campaigns to the Red Cross? What if we gave a fourth of that? Think about what we could do with the money that is eventually sent to fuel negative campaign ads or rallies. That's also 40% of the NPR PBS government subsidy, something that came up during one of the presidential debates. Now, don't you think the money, a little bit of the money at least, for campaigns would be better spent keeping Big Bird on Sesame Street, educating children, than a negative campaign ad against a candidate? I think so. And in fact, with the unemployment rate still weighing heavily on America, $164 million is 1 month of unemployment benefits for 164,000 people. Now, whether you disagree with unemployment benefits or not, that's a chance for 164,000 people to continue looking for a job if they haven't been able to find one, and continue living and keeping food on their tables. An interesting fact. So some reflections. We've framed where campaign finance, where the industry has grown and expanded drastically with the Citizens United rulings and the SpeechNow.org rulings. But what's interesting, again, is that $164 million are spent on campaigns. And I have to ask you, if a lot of this money is going in support and coming from specific individuals or specific sectors, does your vote, if you can't give $1 million, still matter? And what can you do by changing where you give your money? How can that shape America and its election cycles? Thank you very much.